LCJ Live. Hope you're doing well. It's Saturday, August 16, 2025. It's a special Saturday edition of LCJ Live, bringing you the Friday box office. Things a little earlier in the weekend here. Thanks for being here. If you're watching live on YouTube, thank you on the replay as well. Appreciate it. Yes, doing a Saturday edition of LCJ Live. Got some stuff I think going on tomorrow. So wanted to bring you the show today. We've got Iron Man here because the new Disney Junior Iron Man series started the other day. Iron Man and his awesome friends. And if you want that conversation with the makers of that show, go to lcj.podbean.com as well as animationscoop.com. And I am wearing this Smurfs shirt because the Smurfs movie that just came out in theaters a few weeks ago is already available on digital. So if you want to watch the new Smurfs animated movie from director Chris Miller, Oscar nominee for the 2011 Puss in Boots animated feature, he put a lot of work into this movie. I wish it made more than about $31 million at the box office, but you now get to watch it on digital. So check out Smurfs on digital. And if you want my conversation with Chris Miller, that as well is at lcj.podbean.com and animationscoop.com, as well as lights-camera-jackson.com in the podcast section. Thanks for being here for today's Saturday edition of LCJ Live. We'll talk about Nobody 2, which I saw the other day. Also, a movie opening next weekend, Relay. I'll talk about that and preview next weekend's big releases as well. If you're joining us live, you want to send in your questions and your comments, go right ahead. Number one, on Friday, Weapons added $7.4 million. Its total right now is $71.4 million. So it's not going to have quite the same second weekend as Sinners from earlier this year for Warner Brothers. Warner was looking at that, going, well, is it going to have the same kind of legs? Is it going to have the same kind of small drops? Weapons not quite going to do that, but still continues quite a year for Warner Brothers. Weapons will easily win the weekend. Second weekend for it, and second place will go to Freakier Friday once again. It added $4.5 million yesterday. It's at $44.8 million for Disney. I thought it could do a little more last weekend than it did, than that $29 million. But this drop will be about 50%, maybe a little less. It could have continue to have small drops through Labor Day weekend. I enjoyed Freakier Friday for the most part. It's got a rough first half hour, but then it finds its rhythm. Some big laughs from Jamie Lee Curtis, and it's very loyal to the first film. So if you're a fan of the first Freakier Friday, you'll definitely get a lot out of this sequel. So third this weekend is going to be Nobody 2, which with the combined Thursday previews and Friday box office, $3.9 million. Now, the opening weekend for the first Nobody in 2021 was $6.8 million, and a total of $27.6 million. This was early on in COVID, early 2021, people just getting back to the movies in a lot of cases. And so it had small drops over several weekends. So it went from 6.8 to 27.6. If we're looking at a weekend of about $9.5 million, I initially thought it could do 10 to 12. And then I saw it Thursday night, and it's just what I expected and thought it would be. Hopefully not as bad as it would have been, but it was. Just monotonous, over-the-top, cartoony action violence, not much of a story. It's very short. And the characters, the dramatizations, the performances, there's nothing there. It's we've seen this movie many times before. It has nothing new to say about the work family life balance, even with Bob Odenkirk's character's unique occupation. It's got nothing going for it. So not a fan of Nobody 2. And audiences don't seem to love this sequel as much as the first one already. Cinema score B+. The first one got an A-. So I think that reaction is there, and will tell everyone, look, maybe we don't need a Nobody 3. Will this sequel get to that 27 million of the first one? It's probably going to be close, but it may drop off even big. Next weekend, it could drop to about $3 million. So not a good film, relatively short at least, but you don't add brain cells to the experience of watching Nobody 2. There's nothing unique about it. There's nothing funny about it. There's nothing creative or inventive about it. And even the uniqueness of the first one, oh, Christopher Lloyd with these crazy weapons and saying these funny lines and everything. Well, you get that again. Even if you thought that was funny the first time, there's nothing funny about it the second time. So really kind of an unnecessary sequel. There was a bit of a fan base for the first one, and they're coming out this weekend to see it, but Nobody 2 a typical end of August or mid to end of August release from a major studio. Next up, the Fantastic Four First Steps added 2.4 million. It's at 240.6 million dollars. So its total now is just a little bit over doing double of what the opening weekend was. The opening weekend was about 118. We're at 240. This should be doing much more than this, but as I've said pretty much every week in the last several weeks here at LCJ Live, this is a movie I knew 3/4 of the way through it. I go, this is not worthy of repeat viewing. And it shows. Yes, it's made more money than the other Marvel Cinematic Universe movies this year, but it does not have the same draw as several other summer releases, including Superman and Jurassic World Rebirth. Superman added 1.4 million yesterday. It's at $337.1 million, and it is now the 9th biggest Warner Brothers movie of all time in North America, this new Superman. So it's absolutely a win for James Gunn, for DC. Superman, 9th biggest Warner Brothers movie ever domestically. That is quite an accomplishment. And right behind it, Jurassic World Rebirth added 770,000 yesterday. It's at $330 million domestically. Over 800 million worldwide, but we're still way off of that $1 billion for the last one, which did 376 domestically. So we're 46 million behind domestically and about $200 million behind worldwide. But even so, Jurassic World Rebirth is still one of the biggest movies of the year and is doing significantly better, both Superman and Jurassic World, than the Fantastic Four First Steps. The Bad Guys 2 added 1.9 million yesterday. It's at $51.7 million for Universal and DreamWorks. It's going to end up by tomorrow night just a little bit behind or right there neck and neck even with the first Bad Guys at this same point. You don't have a lot of animation competition. You have a little bit. Light of the World is coming out September 5, but not a lot of animation family competition for a bit. So this could have small drops continue to do that over the next several weeks. And we'll see how close it can get to that 97 million of the first Bad Guys from 2022. The Naked Gun added 1.4 million yesterday. It's at 38.6 for Paramount. So it'll get over 40 million. I think it'll do at least 45. Will it get to 50 million? That is the question. This is a movie that people have been comparing to the Jennifer Lawrence film No Hard Feelings from 2 years ago, the Sony R-rated live-action comedy, and that opened to 15, totaled 50. Naked Gun opened to almost 17. We're going to get to 45, I think. Will it get to 50? That's the question. I think Paramount would like to see it get to 50, but it could be close. F1 added 680,000 yesterday. It's at 180.8. I'm sure Warner Brothers would have loved to see this get to 200 million. They're still having a banner year, but we're looking at maybe 190 for F1, which is doing way better overseas than North America, but it's still a fun movie. If you haven't seen F1, it is 2 hours and 35 minutes, but it feels shorter than that, and it's a good time at the movie. So if you haven't seen F1, check it out. We don't have the full money yet on some films like War 2 and Coolie, as well as the limited open of Highest to Lowest, Americana, as well as what Together and Sketch have done so far this weekend. But more of those box office results will be out over the next day and a half. East of Wall from Sony Pictures Classics opened in about 600 theaters yesterday with a box office total so far of $226,000. If you're just joining us here on LCJ Live, thank you for being here. It's the Saturday edition. Special Saturday edition of LCJ Live. Normally we're on Sunday, but some things going on tomorrow, so doing the show here today. As I mentioned, Smurfs is available on digital and the new Iron Man animated series on Disney Junior and Disney Plus. Let's take a look at some of the movies coming out for next weekend. It's a very interesting lineup and a lot of movies that I think, well, they're not gonna take Weapons out of that top spot, I don't think. But we have several films. One of them is Eden, which is the new Ron Howard film with Jude Law, Ana de Armas, Sydney Sweeney, Vanessa Kirby, Daniel Bruhl. Quite a cast. Coming out from Vertical. This is a movie that's been in the can for about a year because it premiered last September at Toronto, and it's finally being released. Eden. It's a little over 2 hours long. We'll see how it does. Also next weekend, a film called Primitive War is released in theaters as well. Honey Don't with Margaret Qualley. She's been doing a lot of press for this from Focus Features. The Map That Leads to You is a new Prime Video romance drama. And then you have Neja 2, the English language version. A24 is releasing in theaters nationwide. Neja 2 made almost $21 million earlier this year in North America. Of course, it's made over $1 billion worldwide. But 21 million in North America, the English language version with Michelle Yeoh in the voice cast. It's about 2.5 hours long. But for animation fans and those who missed out on Neja 2 the first time, they're probably going to check this out this weekend coming up. And then also for animation fans, which is really interesting, K-Pop Demon Hunters is going to get a 2-day sing-along theatrical screening event in theaters nationwide next Saturday and Sunday, August 23 and 24. K-Pop Demon Hunters has been huge on Netflix over the last couple months, and Sony Pictures Animation and Netflix have decided to give it a theatrical run. I think this is a movie that's going to be on the Best Animated Feature Oscar ballot, as well as all the other awards organizations this award season. I think it's pretty close to a lock. You could see K-Pop, Neja 2, Zootopia 2 absolutely will be nominated. And then the other two spots are kind of up for grabs. You could see Elio get in there, and then there's some other smaller films, one from Sylvain Chomet and some other ones that and Netflix has In Your Dreams, which I think they're going to push pretty hard. So animated feature will be very interesting, but expect K-Pop Demon Hunters to be on the ballot. And now everybody, if you don't have Netflix, you get to see this fun, music-heavy, action-heavy, and comedy-heavy as well, Sony Pictures animation film in the theaters next weekend. If you want my conversation with the directors, Maggie Kane and Chris Applehans, that is available at animationscoop.com, lcj.podbean.com, and in the podcast section of lights-camera-jackson.com. And then also in theaters next weekend, you have a film I've already seen called Relay. This stars Oscar winner Riz Ahmed, as well as Lily James and Sam Worthington. It is a thriller, and I was with it for a while. The hook of it is unique. I don't want to give it everything away. The structure of it is interesting. The premise is interesting to an extent. This is directed by David Mackenzie, who did Hell or High Water from 2016, which got a bunch of Oscar nominations. And that was a movie that was a cat and mouse game. And this is that as well. But I don't think David Mackenzie has quite as much control over the script and the way things play out with Relay as he did with Hell or High Water, a film that I thought was all right, but I wasn't quite high on it as much as a lot of people. So Relay falls apart in the final half hour. It really does. Again, I don't want to say why. But if you're with it and you like the momentum and the way it's going, even though some of it feels abrupt and some of it feels a little forced, and there's also some inner reflection stuff. I think this movie could have been tighter. It's an hour 50, but it could have been an hour 35 and had even more of a pace and even more intensity to it without then going over the top in the final section and doing some silly things and some things that make you go, really? So it kind of falls apart in the final half hour. So overall, I'd give it a C. It's okay. You're with it enough. Not my favorite Lily James performance. Riz Ahmed, I like him. He's a good actor. He does a few interesting things with the performance. But again, I think the inner reflection angles of it are some of the weaker things about it. Sam Worthington as the bad guy. Okay. I've seen him in some better roles. Relay, I wanted to like this more. I didn't know a lot going in. And I wanted to like it a lot more. Okay, not great. Bleecker Street has it in theaters this weekend, but you're not going to see it make more than a couple $1 million. The same for Eden. Neja 2 is kind of a wild card. And Honey Don't, I don't expect more than a few million for that, just like Drive Away Dolls from last year. So that's a look at the movies that are coming out next weekend and a look at this box office. When you see the box office headlines tomorrow, you will see Nobody 2 with around 9 to 10 million, somewhere in that department, coming in third behind Weapons and Freakier Friday. As always, for more, go to lights-camera-jackson.com, X at LCJ Reviews, Instagram at LightsCamJackson. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. I think we'll be back next Sunday for LCJ Live, so that will be August the 24th, I believe. But in case there are any changes, as always, go to social media, follow for the updates, and at toofast2films.com pretty soon, Mike Sargent and I are going to record our 250th episode of the Too Fast, Two Films podcast. We will review Nobody 2, and we will also do something special and pretty interesting for our 250th episode of the Too Fast, Two Films podcast. So look forward to that. More LCJ Q&As on the way with some great animation makers. Got a few episodes in the can, and they'll be released later on in August as well as early September, and more on the way. Thank you so much for being here for today's episode of LCJ Live. Have a good rest of your weekend, and I will see you next time. I'm Lights Camera Jackson. Thanks for watching LCJ Live. Bye-bye.